Welcome to the Connect to Engage video chat series, where we explore the power of communication across industries. I'm Jennifer Non-Murphy, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Adrienne Wallace and Marie Strauss. I'd like to welcome our guests for the summer series that are involved in the travel industry. Let's welcome John Damron.
Hello.
And Dawn Stark.
Hi there.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Okay,
Thanks
Anne-Marie,
Thanks for having us.
I'm going to pass it to you, Anne-Marie.
Okay, so the first question is, in about a minute, tell us about your role in the industry of travel and why you chose to get into it. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. Hi, my name is Dawn Stark. I own my own travel agency called Dawn's Destinations. I always liked to travel and planning. So for me, it was so natural for me to get into the industry. I'm a travel advisor. I create memories for my clients. It's just not a trip. It's so important to know that when you're going on a trip that I have planned that you're gonna have a great time and you're gonna create memories, lasting memories with your family and friends.
Thank you, Dawn. And yes, memories are so important. Making memories together is something that lasts a lifetime. So thank you for that insight. John?
John. So, hi, everybody. I was gifted to be invited by my niece, and it's so great to be a part of this. I'm here to talk about a limo business that I got into. So I start off with, I had to obtain this Class B commercial driver's license to get this job that has a passenger endorsement. And I got that from a previous job. Having that job, I just decided to keep that license and keep it current so that in case anything came up, when I moved from my home to a new home, I would have it available. In 2018, I became aware that a friend of my daughter's had purchased a Sprinter limousine to add to his business for weddings and wine tours, dinners, and concerts. Once I heard the news, I immediately contacted him to inform him that I was already qualified with the passenger endorsement and could be his first driver. He immediately told me to come out and fill an application with my pre-employment physical, and I was hired immediately. The job, and why I like it, is because it gives me an opportunity to be with happy, excited people as their ambassador for their adventure and attempt to provide them with a unique experience they'll never forget. That's it.
That's great. I think that the similarities between the two of you is when people are traveling, whether they're traveling long distances or for John, kind of within the confines of within a limo, they're happy. It's like excitement, it's joy, they're spending their money, but they're spending the money in the way that they want to. So with that comes a level of communication that's a little bit different than some of our other industries. And I think we'll get into that a little bit.
Absolutely. And I like, John, how you seized that opportunity. You were already ready to go and it just worked out. You had that connection. Obviously, the person trusted you enough to hire you. I do want to start with you, John, for this next question. Can you talk to us a little bit about the role of effective communication within the day-to-day operation of your workday?
And you're asking me?
Yes. I know John and Dawn sound very similar. John.
They have a similar type of vowel going through them, so it's okay. So I wrote that in my capacity as a chauffeur ambassador, I must be fully aware of their plans and goals for their experience that I have in mind for the day. I therefore reach out a day or two ahead of time to the client to first introduce myself to them and that I am aware that we have a scheduled date for service. I also want to convey to them the services we provide, such as drinks, music systems that are available, and ask if they have any questions. The first communication is via text message to the booking client as well to the office staff to establish an open channel of communication between all parties. If there are concerns they may have, the office staff is immediately aware and can facilitate a solution, thereby allowing a seamless solution. This first text also becomes the key entryway to future communications before, during, and after the event. I am in constant communication with my clients at all times. If I cannot park, for example, on site when I have to drop them off, I inform them once that I have acquired a safe closed parking position. I will contact them with the amount of time it's going to take me to return to pick them up where we have left off at a designated spot. This allows them to know how long my return to them will take so that they can plan their assembly at the predetermined pickup point. I also communicate to them that in the beginning of the shift, when I first meet them on site, that I may or may not have a job after that. So if I don't, I immediately tell them, you know, I have nothing after. If you'd like to extend this time and maybe elongate the day, it's just the same hourly rate. I'm available. We can make this happen. In fact, that happened yesterday when a person said that for a birthday, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then I suggested after this one winery I took them to, just down the street is a wonderful restaurant. Maybe you'd like to go to dinner there. They thought about it and they said, you know, that's a great idea. So I was able to get 2.5 more hours out of them. And they, at the end of the day, said, you were wonderful.
Sounds like you created some memories there. That's awesome. Knowing, kind of seizing that opportunity and taking advantage of that experience for them and seeing how you could enhance it. So kind of reading the room, right? Or reading the vehicle. Knowing you're having a great time, why stop now? You know, you can keep having a good time. And I know a good place for you to do that. So I'm sure you wouldn't necessarily recommend the exact same spot to every single group or client that you have, maybe depending on what kinds of things they seem interested in.
It's, for my industry, it's pretty much an ad lib. Everything that comes up, it's what's on the spot right now. What type of event am I looking at, and how can I make that a better event for them and be spontaneous to them at all times?
That's awesome. Dawn, what about you? Can you tell us a little bit about communication in your workday?
Yeah, so I mean, constant contact with my clients, and making sure that their needs are met. When I initially have a conversation with the client, a new client, I get to learn about them and what their needs are, what they like, what they don't like, where they've been in the past, to really help me. Sometimes people really know where they want to go, but I'm also faced with people that don't know where they want to go. So just the questions that I ask to lead them to the right place.
Awesome. So a lot of active listening occurs on your part, it seems.
Yeah, and
So
learning about them. And sometimes people think they want to go somewhere, but they don't.
Oh, I want to hear more about that. What do you mean?
So, I mean, I've spoken with clients that think that they want to go to the Caribbean, and I ask them if they like the beach, and they don't.
Oh,
that's critical.
Or maybe, you know, or maybe they want to be active, so maybe I'm going to send them to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
So it's all about a conversation. It's all about learning who's going on vacation, making sure they have passports that are up to date. It's really important to get all of that information up front so I can lead them to the right place.
awesome.
Sounds like that personalization, the active listening, as Adrienne said, that you're describing, and really understanding what they like and want. That personalization is very meaningful as a client, your potential clients and customers, to feel that they're appreciated and really being heard.
Yes.
When I look at this next question, what comes to mind is, as learners, as listeners, stories play a huge role in remembering content. And so I really love this next question because it's all about giving us a story. So Dawn, I would love to hear from you about a story or that you can tell us about how communication really helped or hurt something in your business.
So again, you know, understanding where the client wants to go, an understanding, and they have an understanding of the location, knowing that when they get to Rome, they're going to be doing a lot of walking. You know, if the client is not able to do a lot of walking, we need to have that conversation. Walking in Europe is not easy, right? There's a lot of cobblestones, making sure that if they are going there, that they have the right place that they're going to stay, making sure that maybe I need a handicapped accessible room for them, either there on a cruise or anywhere. I do carefully have that discussion and make sure that everybody does have an understanding and expectations of when they get there.
So it sounds like to me, building a relationship is really critical for you. Typically, how long does that process take when someone first kind of seeks you out? What kind of lead time do you typically have?
So it really depends. For example, I spoke with a client today that wants to go to South Africa. And I happen to know them very, very well. Not the first time I booked for them. So I really know what they like. They actually came to me with something and I totally turned them around. Because I knew that they wanted certain places to go. I knew that the accommodations that they were going to expect. So I'm able to have the conversation, especially once I know the client. But even when I first meet with the client, it really depends. I will offer them a first go around of an itinerary. We discuss it. Sometimes I hit it right on the nail. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes maybe I need to change a hotel, maybe change a tour, maybe the dates don't work. So it's really important to, have that conversation with them.
And when you talk about the mode of communication, do you prefer phone call? Are you communicating text like John? Are you emailing, kind of all of the above? Zoom calls? I mean, what's your preference?
So for me, it's always getting on the phone. I feel like I can ask more questions because one question will lead into to the next question. So if it's over email, then I have to wait for an answer. So to me, that just takes a little bit longer. I do sometimes, if a client requests to meet with me, I do a Zoom call. I had one the other day with a new client. They wanted, he wanted his daughters on. So we all sat, we all figured out, they had something in their minds, but their budget wasn't there. So then I had to explain to them why they needed to have a different budget.
Oh, the money. It's the money.
It's important. Listen, it's important, right?
Yes.
So just part of the conversation, right? So my preference is to do a phone call with them. It's easy when there's a quick question, texting, no problem. But when there needs to be a conversation, I really do feel like the phone is the best mode.
Absolutely. Especially with what you're doing. You kind of have to hear the voice. It matters. Definitely.
It does.
John, let's hear a story from you. You're an excellent storyteller.
So you say. So in my business, similar to Dawn's, it is a communication type of business, and having good communication at all times is paramount. In a limo business, we're going to be with the client, so making sure that they understand what it is that we're doing and how to get a hold of me is very important. So I use the text message, Dawn, because it allows me to send a message and they can respond to it. Sometimes phone calls for me, it can't be heard and it's too loud where they're at. So the text allows for a better communication. So in this particular event where I had a vital success, I had a group of 12 individuals who I was taking to a concert at Oracle Park in San Francisco. This particular venue does not have any on-site parking, so I advised the client before we left that I would be dropping them off close to the site. I would then have to go nearby to find somewhere to park and wait for the concert to end. I would move then later to a site closer to the venue about an hour prior to the last song and drop them a pin through a text message of where I was located. When I had acquired the parking pickup location, I then gave the client the pin drop location, to which they responded they had received it and understood my location. Then once the concert had ended and people started filing out and moving all across in front of me, around me, I reconnected with my client as to the location and became aware that they were walking away from me, not towards me as was planned. So I resent the pin drop to them, only to learn that the group of 12 was now 3 groups of 4.
Oh, no.
I immediately informed them to stop moving, started to move my vehicle, and drove to find the 3 groups. I found the first group and pulled safely to the curb, and I communicated, this time, Dawn, by phone to the other groups and directed them to my location. They all found me. We all left, 12 happy, safe travelers. Using calm, concise, direct communication allowed for us all to be gathered and collected safely and effectively. End of story.
That's great.
That sounds awesome, John. What you were describing reminds me of a similar experience where sometimes text is good to a point, but when things are not lining up with the text, there's nothing like a phone call, and it alleviates a lot of anxiety when you can get on the phone with the person and verbally talk your way to each other.
Yeah. I also like to get an answer.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I also like to get an answer right away so I can move on. Right.
I was just thinking, as you were talking, John, I don't use an air tag, but from what I understand, it helps you track people or things and where they're precisely located. So it's like you need a tracker for your clients almost. Like, where are you so I can find you? Is that what the pin does? Is that?
So, yeah. So the pin, what it does is it finds your phone, and through Google Maps, then it drops that dot where you're at when it locates that phone, and then it sends it in a message saying, this is my location. And then they get that map and they can see the map of where I'm located. So it's a eagle eye view of where I'm located, saying, here I am. And it shows then a graphic on a map.
That's pretty high tech. I hadn't thought about that, like in the travel industry and especially what you're doing. It's another mode of communication that I don't even think we've talked about yet.
Air tags in your luggage work too.
Yeah. The only thing that those the Apple does is the communication is delayed. It doesn't always come to you real quick to find that luggage, for example, and it may ping time later. I have to use it because I go pick people up at off-site places, and where I dropped them off is a block away from where I am now, and it's dark. I'm in a black limo with a lot of other black vehicles, and then I usually have, I would say 99.9 inebriated people that have no idea where they're going. So a simple try to communicate with them is sometimes overly difficult.
Yeah. Do you work alone? Like, do you have somebody riding with you, or is it usually just you?
No, it's just the clients. No, it's just me.
So you're trying to track them down by yourself, which can be challenging too, I imagine.
It's not overwhelming. It's just part of the job of being staying calm and knowing that something unusual is going to happen every time you go out.
Yeah, great anticipation. I love that. And I love your, like, how do you communicate in a calm fashion? Because you're not always dealing with the same same person that you dropped off might be a different person. Meaning,
oh yeah, the hat changes. I mean?
There's some changes there.
Yeah, definitely some changes.
Oh my gosh, great stories. I love it.
Yes, both of you. Thank you for sharing those. So
Welcome.
as we move on, what is the biggest mistake that people in your profession in the travel industry make when it comes to communication? Dawn?
Mistake. Not being upfront, not being honest, not knowing where you're sending your client. I think that's just so important to know. I do travel quite often, and I do visit a lot of the places that I go and I send people. So, I think, you know, if you're not, if you don't know where you're sending your clients and you don't have any information for them, I think that could be a mistake. And not communicating, understanding the locations, you know, not communicating with the client, could be a very big mistake.
I can only imagine how challenging it must be. And you are obviously an avid traveler, but dealing with different countries and cultures and places your clients are not familiar with, and knowing how to guide them through those types of nuances as well, making sure they stay safe,
Yes.
and get back home through their journeys as well. So do you communicate with them a lot while they're away?
So they always have a way to get in touch with me. I do give them an app. They can send me a message from there. They can always text me. They always will have a number to call while in destination. So if they have any snags, my job is to keep them with their vacation. So for example, I had clients that were coming back from a cruise that were supposed to go directly to the airport, but they couldn't dock and they missed their flight.
Mm.
But by the time they got off the flight, I already got them a flight the next day and had a hotel room waiting for them. So
Awesome.
That must have been a pleasant surprise for them.
yeah, they
How
were very happy.
cared for they must have felt. That makes a big deal. The feelings that people have because of what you do and say as part of your relationship with them.
Right. And it can make or break your trip also.
Mhm. Mhm.
John, how about you? What is your feeling on
So
communication
I feel
mistakes?
that the biggest mistake in my industry is made by a chauffeur is not planning ahead for the unexpected and being flexible to the change. A chauffeur must never assume it is always going to be the same as it has been previously in the driving to the exact same location. Even the client may have been to that location before and have a great insight to the event and where we're supposed to be going, but I feel we always must stay alert to the change, which is paramount. Traffic in my industry is what dictates change. Therefore, I must always inform my client ahead of time that I'll be taking the most efficient route possible to assure they arrive ahead of time. This assures them when they notice that I'm not going the way they may have thought I should have gone in the past, that I have altered my route due to a change in traffic ahead of me. I inform them that I use Waze to give me life updates to traffic along my route, and Waze also gives me at the same time alternate routes. I also use Waze to find me more scenic routes if the client is new to the area to enhance their experience. And my feeling is that being late is not an option. So making sure that I'm aware of changes and reflective of that, and be intuitive to making sure the client knows that I'm not just driving around wasting my time.
We've all been there, right? Maybe not in a limo, but in a cab or Uber or whatever transportation. You're like, this isn't the way. Where are you taking me? So
Yeah,
it's
7 right turns. When you make 7 right, when the taxi takes 7 right turns, you know you're not going the right way.
7 right turns. Where does it lead you? Back where you started?
Yeah, it's almost, but it definitely was confusing.
That you have that communication with them, so they're at ease and not having that anxiety, like, where are we going? What's going on right now?
Well, first, in my industry, they're looking out the windows occasionally. They may have an understanding of where they're going. They've been this route before. And then all of a sudden they see me, I'm off the freeway. I'm now on surface streets. And if they were to look out the other side of the window, they might know that the traffic is at standstill. And we're moving now along at 35 miles an hour instead of no miles an hour. And we're getting to where we need to go. And for the most part, we're within 5 minutes of the arrival time by getting through that. And Waze is very good about updating me on that. And so I use that particular medium as a way of focusing myself forward, make sure I arrive on time. there's a destination that has to be reached. I need to get there. So I think the biggest mistake that they do is just not planning ahead. They just wing it, and they aren't ready to make the changes, and then they're stuck and everything falls apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that pre-communication, before you get going, is really critical. About, hey, I got you. I'm going to get you there. I use Waze. I like how you really are clear about that. One story I can add was recently I was in an Uber, and you know how they have your name. They have your name right there. And so I said something like, oh, you could take, it was in my hometown, and I like, oh, you could take a left here. And he goes, Jennifer, like that, like really strong. Jennifer, driving, you will do the sitting. And I was like, okay, no tip for you. Like the way you say it is important too.
Felt like you were in trouble.
I was like, fine, okay, I'm sitting back here. So the tone, I think, is important. So good stuff.
It is important. It is important to keep the client in happy spirits and not feeling like they're being spoken and belittled. The client is always right.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They may just not be correct totally, but we don't want to let them know that.
All right. So we like to end on a light note. So just for fun, we're going to start with John. If you can let us know something on your bucket list.
How long do you have?
Uh-oh.
No,
Who wants to start?
I'll start. No,
Okay.
just because I have a long list. That's why I said that. My bucket list, Australia is definitely on my bucket list. I'm actually heading to Ireland at the end of the month.
Ooh.
But I've been to some unbelievable places. I really have been.
I'm curious, are all of your bucket list items, as long as it is, are they all related to a destination, like a travel place?
Yes.
All right. So just going through the list.
To me, that's what a bucket list is. So maybe I misunderstood the question.
No, it's fine. Some people want to maybe bungee jump. It doesn't matter where they are. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily the destination, but the experience. So yeah, that's fine. All right. Mr. Damron, how about you?
The one thing that on my bucket list is to live long enough to see each of my 6 grandchildren graduate from high school, become successful and stable within their lives. And that if that includes marriage, it would be wonderful. But being successful with happiness and stable within themselves would be wonderful.
That might be the nicest bucket list item I've ever heard from anyone on this show. So that's amazing.
Very nice. Well, we hope you both get your bucket list dreams and wishes. And you've been inspiring. Your storytelling has been really engaging our imaginations, and I can only speak for myself, but it makes me want to book a trip.
Let's do it.
I know. Where are we going?
Where are we going?
What's on your bucket list?
Asked us that question before, Dawn. I don't know if we can answer. We're not prepared.
Uh-oh.
We're not prepared.
I say that mine is related to a destination, though. I haven't been to Italy yet. That's somewhere that I need to go in my life at some point, sooner rather than later. I'm sure, Dawn, you have a lot of hot spots that you could recommend.
I do. And I was just there.
Awesome.
I can help.
And Marie, do you have something?
Well, I would love to see all 7 continents. I've been to many, but not all 7. And everyone laughs about Antarctica, but people go there, don't they, Dawn?
Yes, they do.
So now I know who to call.
It's a hot destination.
It's a hot destination. No pun intended.
No, well, it's right.
So that's my goal once I finish seeing all 50 states, which is happening.
Those are great. Those are great. I'm gonna think about mine a little bit. I'll get back to you, Dawn.
Seriously? You're leaving us hanging? No, it's fine.
Off the top of your
Travel.
head.
Yeah, travel for sure. Traveling for sure is a big thing for me, but it's it probably has a lot to do with family things. So I should probably sit down and think about it some more. Thank you
Washington,
for
D.C.
asking us. Washington, D.C. Yes, that's where I'm heading. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy lives to share your communication. I did learn a lot. I love the parallels between the two of you. You guys are across the country from each other, and yet you are doing similar lines of work, and we just love that so much. The value you have given is important, and we appreciate that. Once we have you guys drop off the call, we're going to take some time, just the three of us, to delve into some key insights and highlights that really stood out to us during today's conversation. So for our audience that are listening, we want to make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on the notifications. We do not want you to miss another episode, any episode of our Connect to Engage video chat. Make sure to share this series with others who are curious and passionate about communication. And you never know who you're going to find on the Connect to Engage video chat series. So thank you to John and Dawn for spending your time with us. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready to travel. I don't know about you guys.
Me too. Where are we going next?
Yes, I can't wait to take a trip. Our guest tonight made it sound so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that really stood out to me when both of them talked about really knowing your customer or your clients and listening to what people like. And it sounds like Dawn even knows her customers better than they know themselves. Like, no,
Yeah.
you don't want to go there.
No.
I know exactly what you need. So it's really about listening and being able to make those connections with people.
Yes, and what John and Dawn both had in common was in their preparation and dealing with their clients, their goal is to help them make memories that are happy and positive. And they are really focused on giving their clients a positive experience that they'll remember in a positive way.
I don't know about you guys, but when I plan a trip, it's almost not more fun, but it's so enjoyable to me to plan a trip and be like, I want to go to this restaurant or I want to go to this location. And that anticipation, that excitement of planning and researching is really very enjoyable. And to have somebody else, on your side, you're texting John, you're like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. And he's like, okay, great. That sounds great. And then also we could do this, or, you just have somebody else that you're chatting to and with about your plans.
Yes. And you can read online reviews and all of that, but having someone like Dawn or John add another layer to those reviews in real life experience, that brings a lot of added value.
And I like the trust that they establish with their clients. To trust that I'm about to travel to another country and I'm believing that you booked this hotel, and when I get there, I'm going to actually have a room, and this random person is going to pick me up and take me somewhere, and just making sure that you have that established trust from the very beginning. So your clients do feel like, you have their best interest in mind, and you're going to get them there safely and get them back home safely, whether you're, the travel agent or physically driving them there.
And I think each of us kind of sparked up when John started talking about the airdrop or the pin. And like, Adrienne, you picked up on it. You're like, oh my gosh, another mode of communication. One that I had never thought about it, but for sure, because I don't know if you've seen on your phones where you can almost track the driver and it's like a moving blue mark. Of course, that's a form of communication. You're communicating where you are, you're communicating where the other person is. And you're like, and then they go, and they just drove by me or they walked by me. And so I'm excited. Another form of communication.
Absolutely. And the different modes, this kind of keeps coming up too. You may think about a certain mode of communication. If it's someone driving, oh, they're probably going to call me. But no, realizing that your clients are somewhere noisy and they couldn't hear you, even if you tried a phone call, I have to send a
Exactly.
text message so they actually get the message. So just being able to adjust and adapt in whatever way you need to communicate.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think we made a good choice for summer to pull people from the travel industry. People are traveling. People are, happy to hear about communication in the travel world. So we thank again John and Dawn for doing that for us, and we again learn more and more about communication and how critical it is across industries. So with that, we would like to sign off and say thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see everybody soon.